And we're going live. Now we're live.
Hey everyone, Ryan Young, Kama Jiu-Jitsu, and let's try this live thing again. We tried it a few months ago when Professor Dave was in town, and our connection issues weren't really working optimally. Now here I am in the new studio. If you want to pan around, you can kind of see what we're doing or where we're at. We're in between classes right now. We just finished a class. We're gonna have another class. If you hear any booming in the background, any of you who watched our video about where we are, Kama Jiu-Jitsu is located inside of the Crossfire Defense Academy in Flower Mound, Texas. And right on the other side of the wall from our bags there is a range. So there's 2 ranges over here, by the way, and if you want to have a cool place to shoot, this is the place. You can bring your rifles here too. So what I want to do is kind of answer some questions. I get a lot of questions over YouTube and through email, and kind of wanted to just jump on a couple of them and see what I can do to answer some of the questions. Now, if any of you have questions, by all means, go ahead and submit them. What was it, Super Chat gets priority? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Super Chat will have priority. And if you guys are having difficulties hearing us, just tell us and we'll see if we can maybe step outside or something or whatnot. So we'll
be sure to let us know. This is new to us.
Yeah.
So don't get too angry at me
if he's we don't want that. We want you guys to hear us.
Exactly. And if you see me looking down, I'm just looking for some questions here on my iPad here. So yeah, excuse me. But if you haven't liked our channel already, please subscribe to the channel.
Okay.
Like what you're on right now.
Looks like there's a Mr. Mac that says it's all good here. So.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. It's funny the comments that we have on here. You guys are great. Keep commenting on the videos. I get a good kick out of a lot of them. Some of them are a bunch of haters, but it's okay. There's always going to be haters. It's even funny when I get 1 thumbs down on it. Some videos, as soon as they come out, minutes after the video is dropped,
seconds,
not even enough time to watch the whole video, I get a thumbs down. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
See, it seems like the minute the first second of video pops up, there's always like just some sort of like downvote, and it's like wow. And then after people have actually watched the video, there's like a surge of like 10 or 20 upvotes. So you guys are pretty awesome for that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to let kind of people come in and get things ready. So forgive us if it seems like we're waiting.
So one of the things that somebody had asked me was to kind of go over the types of classes we have here at Kama Jiu-Jitsu. And we try to go and cover as many different types of classes to fit as many different types of people as we can, given our space and time slot restrictions. And also staffing. That's another thing too. We have only 1 black belt here in Texas, and we have 3 black belts in California. So in California, for instance, our classes are, let's see, we go from 6 to 9 p.m. and we have beginners as well as advanced classes, Monday through Thursday. Monday and Wednesday classes are taught by Professor Jack Toffer. Tuesday is taught by Professor Fernando Costa, and Thursday is taught by Professor Dave Kama. Saturday we have our Kids Day, and they start at 9 a.m. We have kids and juniors in 1 class. 10 a.m. we have a beginners, which is taught by Professor Fernando or Professor Dave, and the advanced class, which is at, I want to say 11 o'clock, and that is taught by either Fernando or Dave as well. And here in Texas, we've got classes Monday through Thursday evenings as well, except at 5 p.m. is when we start. We have both juniors and kids start at 5, they go to 6. And we have the adults start at 6 p.m. Once again, this is here in Texas. So we alternate the beginners and the advanced here. So as an example, advanced starts right after the kids at 6 p.m. on Monday and Wednesday. And then right after that, 7 p.m., we have the beginners on Monday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. And the reason why we did that was because we offer judo here in our Texas Academy.
How many teens do you have in class?
Teens, well, we don't break them out in teens because some older teens will be in the adult class and some will be younger teens will be in the middle school class. So I would say total here in Texas, offhand I tell you we have about 5 or 6 teams. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's call it about 6. And then in California, we've only got a couple of teams there.
Yeah.
So Monday, Wednesday evening, we have judo here at 8. So we like the beginners to go straight into the judo, if they can stay, of course. And most people do stay for the judo. And the importance of having judo is, today, Jiu-Jitsu or BJJ, they do very little in the way of takedowns, and their takedowns are more wrestling type. Our opinion is that for the street fight, a good wrestler will get a single or a double leg on you every time. But that's somebody who's been training for years and years, and they know those techniques inside and out. But if we're just trying to teach it to somebody here in class, it's hard to get you up to that level. So for us, at least, it makes more sense to work with judo techniques or even Greco-Roman techniques, because you keep your head out of the way of flying knees, or at least more so because you're more upright. So we like to work with those. So and it's important to do judo anyway.
Another question from Brown Rice. Oh, hold on. I gotta pull it up. There we go. How many? If somebody did judo years ago, do you think they should keep their rank from judo to, I guess, into jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu rank and judo rank don't relate. So if you're a black belt in judo, you're a white belt here. You may move up in rank in jiu-jitsu faster because of your background, but still, it's a different art altogether.
Okay. Another question from, well, hold on. I can't keep the chat up. There we go. What size class do you have for 8-year-olds and 11?
Well, 8-year-olds are kids and 11-year-olds are the juniors. So right now here in Texas, our classes we probably run about, I want to say 3 kids, and we're probably running about 7 juniors right now. In California, we have more kids than juniors. I think we only have 1 junior, and we have about maybe 5 or 6 kids there. But we're going to be expanding our kids classes in California. We're going to add 2 days during the week, Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. We haven't done it yet. So what we're doing is, if this is something you're interested in for Southern California, then Dave Kama will be teaching those classes. Somewhere in the 4 to 5 o'clock hour is going to be the start time. And just let us know your indication, and indicate for it, and we'll get it started sooner rather than later. And Professor Dave's ready to turn it on at any time.
Okay. Do you have another question from the comment section?
I'm still going through it right now.
Okay. Let's see. Ooh, this is a good one. So you mentioned you have a full-time job once. Do you work from home so you have more free time to train, or do you work normal 9 to 5 and just rush to class?
Well, I've always been in financial services, and for the most part, when you're in financial services, you're pretty much your own business. So yes, I do have a home office that I work out of.
Okay. What do you think of CJJ, Combat Jiu-Jitsu?
Unfortunately, I don't know too much about it. We did have a friend who used to run our Tustin facility. We used to have our Tustin Academy, which we were located inside of his facility, and he was a Combat Jiu-Jitsu student. So it looks good. I mean, I've seen some of the videos of their matches, and I like the way they just go for it. It's probably a lot closer to what we see as traditional Gracie Jiu-Jitsu than is today's modern BJJ.
Okay. Another one here. This is from Mike the Filican, if I said that right. Will there be drop-in classes for visitors from around the world?
Yes, we do offer drop-ins. So just when you want to drop in, let me know. Just go ahead and email us at kamajujitsu@gmail.com, and we'll get it all set up.
Yeah. And this is for people in the area, out of the area. You don't have to be from far away. You can set up for either a private or anything like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. In fact, I just had a gentleman come in from Austin just the day before Thanksgiving. Came in and dropped into one of our classes.
We get quite a few people since we've got the new place. Now's a great time to come around. It's really, really cool. So. How about it, Ryan? I come over from Ireland, you hook me up with some sessions, mates rates. It's cold here. I love jiu-jitsu. Oh, I love the channel, bro. Okay.
Oh, thanks, man.
Thank you, Slow Cheetah. That's a great name.
Oh, I have a question here. Do you have one there?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. This is from, actually, I can't see his name here. Oh, Benjamin Butler. Can anyone help me on what signs to look for if a GJJ, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, or BJJ school is teaching self-defense? Can you tell by the warm-ups, demonstrations, etc.? Here at Kama Jiu-Jitsu and at every Gracie school that I've ever been at, we did self-defense in every class. Now, it doesn't mean that every class is going to be entirely self-defense. You would typically have our warm-up, and right after our warm-up, we'd go into a self-defense concept, whether it be bear hugs, from the front, from the back, over the arms, under the arms, headlocks, headlock standing, headlocks on the ground, somebody choke you from behind, somebody choke you from the front, somebody grabs you. Just one concept is what we do every single class, and we still do it actually here. And it doesn't matter if you're a white belt, blue belt, purple belt, or whatever. I mean, here I am, I'm a black belt, and we still do it. When I attend class in Irvine, when I go to California and I attend class in Irvine and Dave's teaching it, there's always a self-defense concept in there. So when you're looking for a school and you just watch, don't just watch one class. Watch a couple classes, or see if you can get a free trial, like a week or so, and just go to as many classes as you can. And if they do that in every class, then you know they do self-defense. If they do it one time and it's kind of as a, oh yeah, by the way, somebody got into a headlock the other day, let me show you how to get out of it. Then it's more of a, we'll do it every once in a while kind of thing. And you just have to evaluate if that's what you want. And other schools don't even teach it at all, sadly.
Okay. Now, we've had this question before, or at least a variation of this. How would you train a student with an ACL tear / recent reconstruction? Just an injury, I assume.
Yeah. So I myself have had 2 knee surgeries. I had a meniscus tear, lateral meniscus, and I had an ACL replacement. So right down my alley. So I guess the question is, how do you train when you had one of those? So just make sure you go through your rehab and make sure you find the best doctor you can if you're gonna get it done. If you've already got it done, then you've already got it done. Go through your rehab, make sure your knee is good. And what I did was I started off playing only from my back, because that way I wasn't putting too much plant strength or plant weight on my foot, which would then radiate up to my knee. Ease it in slowly. Let everybody know you're injured, whoever you're training with. Go very slow. Don't turn it up. If you turn it up, guess what? Your partner's going to turn it up too, and you may, in the heat of the battle, not realize that you're turning it up, and you may end up re-injuring your leg. So just take it slow. There's no rush. You're going to heal, and just make sure you stretch that knee out all the time.
In fact, I think you had made a comment on something where a gentleman had asked the same question, and you said it seemed like that it actually helped with the healing process to a degree.
Yeah, it gets blood flow in there, so you want to make sure you work it, but don't work it too hard. Ease into it. Mm-hmm. So one of my students just had shoulder repair or shoulder reconstruction, I would say, and he's been out for 6 months, and he started off in private about 2 weeks ago, and we eased into it. And being that I've been doing this for so long, I'm not going to overreact and hurt his shoulder. I'm not going to target his shoulder, and even when I get near it, I know how to act gingerly around it. So what we just want to do is just get the movement back in. It doesn't matter what joint it is. Just get the movement back in, get the blood flowing again, and ease yourself into it slowly.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
So, and remember, guys, if you're new to the chat here, you can send your questions in, and we'll see if we can answer them. So we're also answering questions from the YouTube comment sections from other videos too. So if you didn't think you had a pretty good answer, or you want would like to see if your comment is showcased, then just mention it. We'll see if we can get it answered. But had a Randall Evans. He says, "Happy Thanksgiving, Professor."
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you.
I hope everybody survived their Black Friday after effects. Okay, this is from, oh man, this is a difficult name. Nada Bindu. You train with striking in multiple attacker situations.
We do with striking. Primarily, it's not to strike unless the strike is really to help us get in closer, to close that distance. But we do have partners that will be striking us, and we do have to deal with that. As far as multiple attackers, we'll go over basic strategies, but really, you can't fight multiple attackers. And any stand-up martial art who says that, oh yeah, sure, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu may be good one-on-one or on the ground, but they can't deal with multiple attackers, I think it's a bunch of crap. And the reason why I say that is because when people practice dealing with multiple attackers, let's say you have one person in the middle and he's surrounded by 10 attackers, right? What do? They come in and hit you one at a time. So you fight 10 people in a row, basically you're fighting 10 people in a line. And if you're gonna fight 10 people in a line, there's nobody better fighting 10 people in a line than a guy who does Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, straight up. But what's the reality of a street fight? If you really have more than 2 or 3 guys that you're fighting against, if they know what they're doing, they're not gonna come at you one-on-one. They're gonna all go 1, 2, 3, boom. They'll mob you at once, and all that so-called multiple attacker training you've done is for nothing. You might hit one, but the other 2 will get you. So the best way to deal with multiple attackers is don't be in this situation. So there are ways to kind of make your body set up so that you can kind of see all of them, but really, you're gonna get out of it. And one of the best things about being in a place like Texas is that we're friendly here. And why are we friendly here? Right?
Because we're awesome.
Yep. We're awesome. But then again, what are we sitting in? We're in Kama Jiu-Jitsu. The other side of this wall right here is a gun range. And what's everybody doing here? Practicing. So really, for something like that, if you're looking at multiple attackers, number one, just get out of the situation. But if you can't, then that's when you need to take it up a few levels. Not encouraging anything, I'm just saying that's really how you have to look at it.
Okay. Another one from Mike the Filican. Will there be Muay Thai, boxing, or any striking-based classes, or is it just BJJ and Judo? In essence, I guess he's wanting to know if you have mixed martial arts.
Yeah, we're not MMA here. We're straight Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And we have the Judo because the Judo is very much related to traditional Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. When you do kickboxing, Muay Thai, and all that, that's all great and stuff, but then what happens is you end up, and here's the thing, and here's the reason why we've never done it. Partly is because Hickson's never done it. So, call me fanboy or whatever, I don't care. But really, the rationale for that is we're trying to manage distance, and the way Jiu-Jitsu people manage distance is different from the way Muay Thai and kickboxer and boxers manage distance. If I'm going to stay in the range of a Muay Thai fighter, I'm going to get lit up. Simple as that. However, my goal is to not stay in that range, and if you watch the old Gracie in action videos, we still do it in a similar way, where you're too far out to get struck, and once you get to what we call the red zone, you can get struck, and then you get to the clinch, where you're not really able to get struck at that point. So, me standing in that red zone, practicing Muay Thai, we do have bags here. A lot of it is we can detach that bags off of the chains, and we can use them, as tackling dummies, or we can punch them on the ground, all that kind of good stuff. But really, it's not so we can practice punching it. But there is some value to it, the way I see it. I'm not saying there's no value to it. There is value to it. But if you're going to be training in the way we train, I don't want to have somebody standing in the pocket in the red zone when they should be clinching. So it's just a different philosophy.
Hi, Mikey. You want to join us? As one of the students.
I've got a question here, and this is from Catherine Roman. She's from the Ukraine. And her question is, I'm the smallest girl in my gym, actually one of only 2 girls. And I can only roll with another girl and maybe a few people that aren't significantly bigger than me, just because the big guys, due to their lack of skill, go too hard in terms of strength and weight instead of using their technique. Or they do nothing at all while we roll because they don't want to break me in half. And then I'm not learning anything. I feel like I'll be stuck in progress if I just roll with the same few people all the time. But at the same time, I don't want to get injured, so what do I do? I love your videos, by the way. Okay, so here's my answer to that. Every school has various sized people, and they need to be able to train with each other. However, if you're a smaller person, you want to start off with smaller people or larger people who are advanced and whose goal is there not to beat you but to help you. And in our school, we do have people that are smaller in stature. We do have people that are very large in stature as well. And one of the things I don't tolerate is larger people going after the smaller people, unless the smaller person is of a higher rank and is capable of protecting themselves. But when we're all learning, we need to make sure we're in an environment that allows us to learn. Now, Catherine, don't feel bad when a guy who's larger than you is training with you and he has to go easy on you because you're smaller. He doesn't want to hurt you. Take that as a sign of respect from your partner, who he's trying to help you on the one hand, but at the same time not trying to hurt you. And don't limit yourself to only training with the other female, because you really get nowhere. You need to train with the men, because if anybody's going to attack you, it's going to be a man, not a woman. And they're going to be bigger, because why? What do I say in other videos? Men that attack are cowards. They're only going to attack people who are smaller or who they feel that are weaker than them and that they can take advantage of. If you never train with larger people, you will never know what it feels like to be attacked by a larger person and therefore be able to deal with it. So ease up in your restriction of who you train with. Instead, try to be learning of your technique, right? If you look at our old video, your game is equal to your physicality plus your technique. Learn your technique. Get your technique as high as possible, because your physicality isn't going to go much further from here. So you need to make up for that lack of physicality with your technique. And the only way to do it is train with a variety of people. And for the people that are bigger, have them go easy on you until you can feel better, and then have them slowly take it up. And if these are training partners that really care for you and really want to help you in the long run, they will do that. And don't feel bad about it, because there are always going to be situations where you train with somebody who doesn't necessarily benefit you right now, right? And that's just the way group classes are. You might have 20 people in a group class, and you'll have 5 people who will train with others where they're totally wasting their time as far as their own benefit. But what they can do is use that time to benefit their partner. At the same time, there's going to be 5 people who train with them who they're a waste of time to train with, but that they will be helping them. So if you think of it in those terms, you'll be fine. Just keep at it, don't stop, and don't restrict yourself to only training with women.
Yeah, it seems like one of the commenters, Slow Cheetah, he says he's the smallest guy in the gym too, and he rolls with goons. It just sometimes it's nicer to have people who are going to be considerate and going to want to give you the space you need to really kind of get things moving before they start kind of getting too aggressive. But here's another one that from Not a Bean Do. I can't say your name, man. I'm sorry. I'm terrible at it. What do you think that judo has done to your BJJ game?
Well, you know, the thing is, and Hickson is the black belt in judo as well, and a lot of the judo concepts plays well into jiu-jitsu, and a lot of jiu-jitsu plays into judo. After all, at one time, they were one art. So for me, at least, it helps me understand the whole concept of base that Hickson is so adamant about. In fact, the very first thing he'll teach you, if you ever take a private from him, is base. And if you don't have base, he really doesn't want to teach you anything else, because he wants you to establish base first. Professor Dave is the exact same way. And because Dave is that way, that's the way I am. So when I come across somebody, especially with a little kid, when I'm teaching for the very first time, 5, 6, 7 years old, first thing I do is I go through that drill and I make them develop the idea of base. Once they understand base, then from there it translates into the groundwork as well. But it also helps to prevent them from being taken away, abducted to a certain extent, or at least it makes it harder. A kid may not be able to completely stop somebody from taking them away, but they can at least, with proper use of base and drill that into as an instinct, they can slow it down to a certain extent, so that the parents or any adult can kind of catch on to what's going on and be able to take care of the kid. Judo, that whole thing about Kazushi really is off balancing, basically getting the person off of their base. That's something that works very well for Jiu-Jitsu as well. Getting your person off balance, even on the ground. You just think, well, you're on the ground. No, you're not always on balance when you're on the ground. If we can get you off balance, then we can pretty much move you anywhere we want. So there's a lot of relation, they work very well, Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. Because Judo has kind of split off, gone more toward the throws, whereas Jiu-Jitsu has gone more toward the groundwork. So it only makes sense to bring them back together.
He asks also, has the judo base been incorporated into the kids class?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
And in fact, for our kids class, we don't start with knees at all. 0. We always start from the feet for the kids. Adults, the older you get, the less likely you are to want to fall and get used to and develop that skill. Whereas with kids, I don't give them a choice. We're starting off, we're doing throws, takedowns, and and that's just for the drill. And then when it comes down to teaching them how to pin and hold position, We start on the feet, do the takedown, pin, hold the pin for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever I want, and then after that, then we go to the submissions. Start for the feet, takedown, pin, submit, and it's very important for kids to understand this. And being that kids are light, when they fall, there's not much of a consequence when they fall, as long as they know how to break fall and keep their head off the ground. Then they can fall and they don't feel as beaten up getting thrown as do adults.
And to answer your question, yes, we do add base to the adult classes. It was something that when Dave was out here last summer or so, or around May actually, that was a big concept he was trying to demonstrate for a lot of the students of like you have to have strong base.
Yeah.
He was very.
Dave is all about base, and Dave never really trained in judo. I mean, he did do some judo classes here and there, but it's very hard for even a seasoned black belt to toss him because his base is just so phenomenal.
We had another comment. It was actually congratulations from Happy Days.
Thanks, Happy Days.
It says, probably the most complete gym I've seen yet.
Well, you gotta come down and join us.
But, yeah. All right. We gotta have more questions, guys. How fit is Rickson these days? Is he still a bull?
I haven't seen him myself. I mean, that might be a better question for Dave or for Jack, being that they have seen him more often. But just from what Dave's told me is that Rickson's been in a bunch of wars. When you're in the GOAT when you're the GOAT and everybody wants to challenge you, then and Rickson, as far as I know, was never really one to turn down a situation. A lot of people would say he ducked Sakuraba, which he didn't. That's a bunch of crap. But he's taking on everybody else, and it didn't matter how big or how strong they were. I mean, he took them on, and his body paid the price for it. And that's just the way he did things, and I appreciate him for that. But yeah, that's something that Dave would be better able to discuss.
To answer your question, Happy Days, we don't have yoga classes, but the Crossfire actually does. So you might be able to. It's kind of an all-in-one facility. So if you wanted to do yoga and then do jiu-jitsu, that'd probably be a great setup for you.
Yoga's awesome. When I was still in California at the Laguna School, before we had any other campuses, I would go to yoga an hour or so before jiu-jitsu, and right down the street, I'd do the yoga. I'd go to the most intense yoga class they had. I'd do that, jump in the shower real quick, head over to the studio, and I'd be training like a wet noodle. But what it does is it makes you really concentrate on your technique, because you're drained. You have no more strength, or at least I, and it really helped a lot. So if you can do it, I would say do it, and do the hot version if you can.
To answer your question, Mike, we do gi and no gi. It is seasonal, so during the winter they wear gis. During the summer, it's no gi season. So yeah, we change it out.
Yeah, we do 9 months with the gi and 3 months without. And the reason why we do it that way is because that's the way it was done once I moved to California, and that's the way Dave Kama did it. In Hawaii, we did it every Friday. But here in California, or out in California at the Gracie Academy at Rickson School, it was always summers without the gi, and the rest of the year, summers with no gi, and the rest of the year with the gi on. And when I asked Rickson about this years ago, he said it's because about 70% of jiu-jitsu techniques are with the gi on. So it only makes sense to spend more of your time training with the gi on than without. But when we train as if we didn't have a gi on a lot of times, which then makes it so when we take the gi off, everything kind of transitions. It's not a long transition point for students who have never trained without gi, and they also take the gi off. It takes less than a week, and they're fully up to speed. You just have to make a few adjustments, but that's really easy.
Let's see. Another one about Rickson here. Do you think is a way to be a warrior and still maintain your body, or are you going to end up beat up and achy, kind of like Rickson?
I don't know. I mean, Rickson takes care of his body, but Rickson also put himself into situations that in challenge matches that really nobody else would. And a lot of people wouldn't challenge. So many people wouldn't challenge an ordinary person like the way they challenge Rickson. So would a warrior end up beat up like him? Okay. Well, the only next person I can look at who's a contemporary of his would be Dave Kama. Dave's 5 years older than me, so he's 54 now, and I wouldn't say he's busted up by a long shot. He's had a lot of battles, but not nearly as many as Grandmaster Hickson has. So, yeah, I mean, if you take care of yourself, you'll be good. But if you fight a lot, then you're bound to get a lot of injuries. And depending on how severe the injuries happen, when they happen, it could affect in the long run.
Yeah. So probably a couple more questions, guys. So get them in now, and then we're probably going to be ending the stream in about 5 or 10 minutes. So. Super. This is Slow Cheetah.
Thanks for all your comments, Slow Cheetah. I read them all.
What is the age limit to start jiu-jitsu?
That's a good question. Being that Dave and Fernando are both in their 50s, and I'm going to be 50, but...
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, how old is too old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we still train all the time. So at our age, we're not too old. However, we've all been training for 20, 30 years. So we've made it part of our lifestyle. Now, for somebody who's brand new, in Irvine, we had 2 people that started with us at about age 60 or 61. And they're doing fine. I mean, you just have to really temper your expectations, because your body cannot do what your mind wants it to do as you get older. And just like when you're a kid, your body can do more than your mind wants to do, right? It's the opposite when you get older. And we have a 72-year-old here in Texas who started about a year and a half ago. He actually quit on me after about a month, and then came back the next day and told me, I'm not a quitter, I'm going to keep doing this. And he's been doing it ever since. So, I don't know. So far as I know, 71. But
how old was Helio and Carlos?
when they started?
No. When they had died, because obviously
they were both in their 90s when they died.
Yeah, they obviously kept on doing it for.
I don't know if Carlos was still doing it. Elio for sure was.
Okay, so there you go, guys. So if you're a 9-year-old, you could probably be doing jiu-jitsu if you're a master.
Yeah, but they were doing it for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, let me see. Maybe I have a personal question. With all the jiu-jitsu history, where are your biggest sources? Where'd you get a lot of your sources from?
I've trained under many, many Gracies. I've trained under first Helson, Horian, Boyce, Hickson, Rodrigo, and I've trained with, and I know several Dirty Dozen members who also have had first-hand experience with Gracies. So all the information that I have just really came over a lifetime. And I used to buy Horian Gracie. He had that packet of magazine clippings that he had, and he sold that. He would just give it to us. He sold it to us. I had that. Plus, I was in that academy. I could always ask questions. I was always curious about this kind of stuff. I always wanted to know it, so I'd ask Helson. And when I first met Helson at Bobby McGee's, at a club. And after class, a bunch of us would go to the club and we'd go drinking with Helson. And that's a great time to pick his brain and learn about his family, because I was just into it, and I still am, and less so now, but I surely was back then. So that's really where I got all my information, just years and years of knowing them and talking to them and getting all the information I can.
Experience, it's always worth something. Okay, has any one of those older guys reached black belts, in your opinion? Like this from previous question.
That's not in our school, and that's something that Professor Dave is kind of grappling with right now. I guess the most important thing is you have to have a command of the techniques. And if, because of your age, maybe you can't move a certain way, you can't do something, then do you award a higher belt to somebody if they physically cannot do the technique? And like I said, that's something that Dave is grappling with right now. I mean, you do have to kind of create different standards for people as they get older, just like you have different standards for people who compete. So we're, all of our older members are still white belts, so that's not really anything we're, kind of thinking about as far as black belt. We're kind of worrying about the blue belt right now. But that's something, it's a work in progress. So in answer to your question, I wish I could give you a better answer, but that's really all I got at this point.
Okay. Do you think jiu-jitsu striking needs to be updated? I feel like the growth of the real art stagnated because of the sport BJJ. And that's from Alan Burt.
The striking of the real?
Yeah, that I maybe have said that kind of. Do you think jiu-jitsu striking needs to be updated?
The thing is, the striking, in my opinion, really is what you do to enable you to get closer to your opponent. By all means, if I strike my opponent and it hits him square and it hurts him, perfect. But really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a way to get closer, to get my body up against his so I can crowd him as best I can. I'm not going to stand and trade. I mean, my arms are not long. I mean, I've got short arms, and my legs are just as short. So what chance am I going to have, even if I'm really good at striking, against somebody who's 6'4"? If I'm going to try to strike somebody who's 6'4", really the only thing I can hit are his knees and his nuts. And if he protects those, then it's not gonna help me. In the meantime, he can reach me. Me kicking him, he can reach me with a fist. So it really doesn't make sense for me to really get into a lot of striking. So I hope that answers your question.
All right. I've only been doing jiu-jitsu about 6 months. Is it normal that I size up everyone in the streets, and laugh at those with big jackets and collars?
Yeah, I did it too. I did it as well. I started learning jiu-jitsu in 89, so I was how old was I? 21. So at that age when you're in college, you think like that. So I would do that all the time, but yeah, that's completely normal.
Yeah. Okay. Another question from Happy Days. Eddie Bravo just came up with his own BJJ league where palm strikes are allowed. In a street fight, it seems more effective. Palm strikes.
Yeah, or he was basically slapping the guy. And yeah, if you look at the old Gracie challenges, that was very much how a Gracie challenge went. Well, the first fight in a Gracie challenge, right? They would always try to beat the opponent by slapping him, because you kind of wanted to look at more of a more humane way to subdue your opponent. So instead of punching him or throwing elbows in their face, you'd slap him around a little bit, and then get them to do the natural reaction, which is a turn, and then you just go and choke them out. And then of course, they always did it first because they knew that since they didn't hurt you, you'd want to do it again, and then they would have an excuse to hit you harder with punches and stuff. But yeah, I think that's a great idea, to do that. And in fact, I saw that one match where that black belt just seemed to have forgotten how to do his mountain escape and just get slapped in the face, which you just need to practice this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Ricardo De La Riva just received his Coral Belt. Any stories of thoughts on his BJJ?
Unfortunately, don't know that much about him. I know he was probably the smallest guy at the Carson Gracie school, and one of the ways he figured out to deal with the big, strong guys in the guard was to create the De La Riva hook. And it worked well for him, and I heard that I think he's one of the first or the only people to beat Royal Gracie in a match. And I think a lot of it had to do with that. I mean, he's definitely an old school pioneer who in my mind is a legend of jiu-jitsu. But unfortunately, I don't know too much about him other than who he is and where he came from.
Yeah. So, all right. I think we should probably cut it there, guys. But is there any last words you'd like to say before?
Hey, Mike, do we have anyone else here? No, we can keep going a couple.
You want to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, never mind. Let's see. Any other questions? Happy Day says, thanks for the live Q&A. Hope you do more of these. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Yeah. If you guys want to see more of stuff like this, you can comment down below. We're interested in doing them. We probably can't do them like every once a week or anything like that, but we're planning on maybe doing these, I don't know, maybe once a month, give or take. If we've got the time and the resources to, because.
Well, you know what? Let's try one for the 9th. Either the evening. Well, let's see. We can do Friday evening. It'll be late though, so maybe we'll figure Saturday morning, Saturday the 9th of December, because that's when Dave will be here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that then. Yeah. So how about that, guys? That sound awesome? We'll have the legend Dave Kama and Ryan together, and we'll do another live stream.
Oh, we're just doing with him. You guys see me you've seen enough of me already. So I'm trying to get Dave to do more of these, but being that he's in California and I'm here, and he's Dave and I'm not, it's hard for me to tell my professor what he needs to do. So
Dave's a pretty humble dude too, so he's not one to.
He's very low key.
Yeah. Okay, here's one from a new commenter, Lee Payne. How do you feel about pure drilling versus actual rolling?
I think pure drilling is more valuable than actual rolling. And I'll just use as an example, our students, we do more drilling than we do rolling. That's not to say we don't do rolling, we do, but it's less time-wise than our drilling. And we just feel it's just more important than actual rolling, because with rolling, you may be trying to work on one thing. Let's say you're trying to work on choking somebody from the mount. But if you're actually rolling, the guy you're rolling with may be better than you, and you never ever get to mount. So you're always underneath him. So you're working something that you had no intention of working, maybe a mount escape, but because he's so good, he's always putting you in that position. So if you don't drill the choke from the mount, then you'll never get to it when rolling, especially if you're a smaller guy. If you're a smaller guy, you're rolling with bigger guys, how often are you going to be able to get to mount and work the choke? Unless you're a lot better than them technically, you're not. So to me, drilling far more important than rolling.
Okay. We had a whole slew of questions here. What's the fastest you had a student from white to blue?
Well, I guess you can look at it two ways. You can look at it in terms of number of classes, or you can look at it in number of months. So number of classes to blue belt would probably be one of our purple belts out in Irvine, who trained with me exclusively one-on-one when I was still in California. He was a medical student at the time, and he got his blue belt, I want to say, within about 45 to 50 classes. And he was good. And then here in Texas, I've had 2 or 3 people who have gotten to blue belt in about 4 months, which is pretty fast as well. Typical is about a year or more.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Any tips for guard passing, standing, and from the knees? Is it a mental game, linking moves with strategy, or pressure heavy? This is from Amun Munez.
It's all in there, but you just really have to understand the concept of passing a guard. A lot of people, they teach techniques. Okay, you do this, you do this, you do this. But if you don't understand the concept behind it, you'll never be able to do it, because the frustrating as well as the exhilarating thing about jiu-jitsu is that it's constantly changing by the split second. So you may learn a technique on how to do this, but your opponent just does a little shift in his weight and that throws that technique out. So then you either have to have another technique to deal with that little shift in weight, or you need to back up a bit and understand the concept of passing guard. If you understand the concept of passing a guard, then the techniques don't matter as much, because you have an understanding about the position, the body mechanics, and all that. And that takes a lot more as far as teaching than does teaching a technique. I can teach you 3 techniques and you can get them down, but if I do something completely different, then all those techniques are out the window if you don't know the concept of passing guard.
Okay. Let's see. Being a 2-stripe white belt, what would you suggest to focus on for open mat days? That's from Mac McClendon.
Choose one technique that you're going to work on. Now, as a 2-stripe white belt, if you walk into an open mat and there's a bunch of colored belts there, you're going to be playing defense. So, just work on your mount escapes, work on your back escapes, work on your, you may need to pass guard. Probably not, though, because they'll just kind of keep you, they'll keep you on your back. Side mount, or as we call cross-side escapes. You just work on your escapes. If you get to the point where nobody can pin you down, as a 2-stripe white belt, that's really what you should be shooting for. And once you get to that point, then you can work on other techniques. But just work on your defense.
From the bottom, hold on. Oops. No. Oh, shoot. I lost it. From the bottom for guard retention, do you use self-defense concepts or strike incorporated?
From the bottom for guard retention. So if I'm playing guard and I want to keep the guard, do I use strikes? We teach them, we drill them, but really the whole thing about guard is not really retaining guard. Guard is a position that you're forced to play because you got taken down or because your opponent is just bigger, stronger than you, have no choice. But if you're playing it, you might as well try to, if you're in a fight, yeah, by all means, try and hit them all you can. But at the same time, try and get off of your back and get up on top and play from the top instead, or fight from the top. So yes, it's a defensive technique, but try and make it as offensive as possible.
Okay. Now, kind of from an outside perspective, a little bit here, the core concepts seem to hold far more relevancy than some of the more trick, for lack of a better way to put it, some of the more trick, like techniques, so to speak, like.
Trick techniques are cool, and it's one of those things where you may get caught, but it's one of those, you fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. For a while, I know there's this one guy who was doing a baseball bat choke. He would let you pass his guard, so let you get the cross side or side control. And he'd have the baseball bat choke in there, and he'd choke people out. In fact, I think he put 1 or 2 guys to sleep, and one of them was like a 3rd or 4th generation Gracie. But that's one of those things where it lasted for that one tournament. After that tournament was over, I don't even recall him getting it again, because it was a position where he gave up position to get that. And he was tricking people into getting submitted. And tricks don't last for very long. You need to have the fundamental core concepts down.
Yeah. So, all right. Do you want to take...
Let's take another 2 questions, and then I'm going to...
all right, guys. If you have 2 more questions, and then we'll probably got to go, because I think Mikey over there he needs to be taught something. I don't know.
Yeah. A lesson.
He needs to be taught a lesson. He needs a lesson. So, do you have any other YouTube comments you might want to answer?
No, I don't have any. The one I really wanted to get to was Catherine Roman's one, being that she is smaller and a woman. I'd like to answer a lady's question, being that I think when we looked at our analytics here on our channel, like 96% are men.
Mm-hmm.
Less than 4% are women, and a lot of those women are members' wives watching, right? Making sure, in the one about the stinky geek video, I had 2 members tell me their wives called them right away and say, "You're not that stinky guy, are you?" So I know they're watching. So thank you for that.
Here's a question here. The school I train at is pure sport oriented. Hardly any stand-up is being taught. I was thinking to add judo or maybe wrestling to my BJJ, and that's from Adnan Maraf.
That's a good idea. I'd go with the judo before I go with the wrestling, but the wrestling is good too. Unless you can find somebody who will teach you Greco-Roman wrestling. Those takedowns they do or throws are awesome. And Greco-Roman to me is almost like judo without the gi on. So, and that's something Randy Couture did, and he was phenomenal, by the way. I love watching him fight. But yeah, if you want to supplement, by all means, those would be 2 good things to supplement with, because they're complementary. They don't really overlap with jiu-jitsu.
Okay, one more question, guys, and then we've got to go. So let's.
By the way, smash the like button, please.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, especially since last time we had so many difficulties, and this time has been really a lot more simple. We kind of streamlined it a bit more, but I like this last. This is a great one to end on. What is your favorite submission to do?
Choke. Yeah, it's always chokes. With us, it's always chokes first, and we do joint locks second. It's never the other way around. So as a result, we really work on chokes. That's the main thing. And why is that? Because in a realistic fight situation, a choke will end the fight. Whereas if you break a guy's arm, he's got another arm. And what if you break his weak arm and you left his strong arm, and his strong arm comes and punch you in the face anyway, knocks you out? You'd have been better off just trying to choke the guy. So yes, any choke I love. So that's what we work on first and foremost.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks for everything. Got to run here. I appreciate all your help with building this channel up for us. I appreciate your likes, your subscribes, and your comments especially. Any questions? Just hit us below, and I almost always will get to you. It may take me a day or 2, but I'll get to you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Take care. Happy training now. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Y'all have fun.